comfortable, and we're getting started. And thank you for the people online who joined online too for their patience. We're about to start. Okay, so this is both serves two purposes. It's a book launch of a former student and a PhD and now a colleague from U of T, who's coming back to present his book, Pluriversal Applied Linguistics, Yecid Ortega. We will say more in a moment. And the book is very, very interesting because, as you see in the flyer, is a bold reimagining of language education through Global South perspectives and talking about challenging traditional paradigms and offering new pathways for us towards a more equitable and diverse language teaching and learning. So we're very, very excited to be here. But this is also the annual gathering that we have for Cyril. And I'm particularly happy to be here and to start this because it's also an opportunity for being together and celebrate. First, let me start with the land acknowledgement, which I needed to read. We wish to acknowledge this land on which the University of Toronto operates. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional land of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and the Mississaugas of the Credit. Today, this meeting place is still the home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. This event, as all the events of Cyril, would not be possible if we were not a team. And these are some of the students who are most involved in helping with Cyril. So Sudashri, maybe you should wave. Where is she? Yes, Sudashri Mohanta, who's the graduate assistant for Cyril now. Asad Iqbal was previously, until shortly, the graduate assistant of Cyril, but is still working on a voluntary basis with us. Aisha Adebayo has been collaborating for a long time with Cyril and helping a lot with the organization of the symposia, both this year and last year. And she's really continuing with us. And Kulsum, who's also here, you should wave. She has also helped both in the symposium and in Cyril. So I'm very fortunate to have these graduate students that show so much interest in the center. But on top of that, we have other people that work and come every time, like Sarah Jones, like Natalia, other students who are following Cyril closely. My name, you know me, most of you know me. I'm Enrica Picado. I'm a professor here at the center at the University of Toronto in the CTL department, Curriculum Teaching and Learning, in the Language and Literacies Education program. And I'm, for the last year, the head of Cyril. This is my last academic year. So this is my last gathering, and I hope I will be able to mentor younger faculties to take over, because Cyril has developed a lot in the last few years. This year, you will see, if you go on the website, you will see the entire article and report. We have had 249 people participating in our symposium, which is more than the Canadian Association of Applied Linguistics, which is Canada-wide. But we had the people from all over the world. I was particularly happy because we had the two inspiring points for the symposium. One was to make it free, to make it accessible for real to everybody. So to do social justice in practice, not just in talk, and to break silos. And this, I think we have achieved both aims, because this year we've broken another silo, which means we have been hosted by a college. And we have already broken silos between universities, York University, Mississauga, Western University, University of Waterloo, but this year also Niagara College, which is, I think, quite important. And so I would like then that this vision continue somehow. You will see two little flyers, because Zero is a living body, and there are always events, grad talks, which are very important for the students. So stay tuned. But for now, let me invite our chair to say a couple of words, and then we get started with some activities and then with the presentation. Just hi.
I didn't know I was going to say anything. Oh, well,
Couple of things.
I will say welcome to Yecid, to CTL. Thank you so much to Enrica for organizing this. I know Cyril to be an active, vibrant research community, and these things don't just happen on their own, right? They require people showing up. They require all of you investing, but they also require leadership. And so I don't think I'd quite taken in that this was going to be your last gathering as the director of Cyril. So like a little round of applause for Enrica. Amazing. And this work is like a labor of love for you, and I know it to be true. And the vibrancy of this community says a lot about your leadership. So thank you for the ways that you're bringing together students in these really important conversations, especially now. So thank you. And I look forward to learning more about the book.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jen. Okay, so I love Subhashri will continue, and then I will introduce Elias.
Thank you so much, Enrica. So now we would love to know who you are, who is joining us. So please take out your phone and scan this QR code. It will lead you to a Mentimeter link, and you will be asked some questions. I will give you a couple of minutes to scan, and then I will go to the Mentimeter site. Online people can also scan.
You might need to move the.
Yeah. People online can also scan and join us. Okay, now I will just go to the Mentimeter site so that we can see your answer. Okay, so we can see who is among us. Thank you so much for joining us. And for other, do you want to say a couple of words, what you do, how you would like to, tell about yourself? Or not? It's fine. Okay, now, since it's a book launch, we thought of asking this question, what do you call book in your language? And feel free to use your script if you have access to a keyboard in your own language, in your device, please. And also the stress is on the languages. So feel free to include all your languages here. We would love to see the languages we speak together. Okay, beautiful. Anyone would like to share what they call book in the language other than English that I know? If not, it's okay too.
Just read aloud some of the.
Libro.
Libro is there. Yeah, libro is Italian, that's easier. I don't know, maybe not just Italian, too, and Spanish. Yeah, see, that's why we're big, the bigger.
We say boy, it's not in there,
Uh-huh.
maybe because of the, so we say boy.
Boy in Bangla, yeah. And kitab, I can see that. Oh, okay.
In case.
In Quechua.
In Portuguese, we say livro. Yeah, you can say there.
Livro. Oh, I can see boy now.
Yeah.
I'm very- The beautiful Bangla script. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Otherwise, we'll move on. Mega.
Russian, Krishka, Ukrainian.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. Now there is a little quiz for you. So please, can you please guess, like what is behind this hidden thing over here?
Yes, yeah. The author.
You are right. It's the author, Yecid Ortega. And now I will invite Enrica again to introduce Yecid.
So I'm very pleased to introduce Yecid in this important event. I had the pleasure to have Yecid as one of my PhD students in the course Multilingualism and Plurilingualism, on top of second language research methodologies. But I think that in the plurilingualism course, something happened that then his research was never again the same. So Yecid is the co-founder, and Yecid Ortega is the co-founder of the Artem Research Collective and the community researcher for Muse Arts Creative Lab in Toronto, Canada. He finished his doctoral program in languages and literacy education with a collaborative specialization in comparative international and development education, the SIDE group at OISE. And he has over 20 years of international experience, first in Colombia, which is his home country, country of origin, the US, Canada, and the UK, in the field of language education and plurilingualism. He explores the pluriversality of social, cultural, and linguistic experiences of the most marginalized communities in societies, immigrants, refugees, 2S LGBTQIA+, neurodivergent, older adults, and so on. In formal and non-formal context, he currently focuses on alternative forms of research, including but not limited to arts-based, creative, critical, and post-material methodologies to understand one's place in the world. As an example of pluriversalizing methods, his ongoing work on ethnographies of the street and ethnographies of the bus, using sound walking methodologies to capture the semiotic, cultural, and linguistic experiences in the city, are a testament that pushes the boundaries of what it means to do qualitative research. So join me in welcoming Yecid today.
All right, thank you very much. Just gonna try to use this thing to see if it works. I'm over here, so I don't show it back to them. And Thank you so much, Enrique, for the invitation and Sudrashi for the organization of this event. I am glad to be back home and share the fruits of my work that was born in this very building. Well,
That's right, so I'll just share. It's okay.
hopefully. Right. So, need to read this because I won't be able to remember all the things that I did. And also doing this.
Okay. Yeah.
It was a quick compressed.
Yeah, sure, sure.
I think that would help, actually. Yes, okay, next. I would like to share quickly our agenda for today. I want to talk about the roots, inicio and agradecimientos, the book structure, concepts, something that I have called pluriversal praxis. What is the beyond of this work and the conclusion, and we're going to finish with some questions and reflections as well. Next. In the next few slides, I wanted to share with you who I am, where I'm coming from, and why I'm here. Next. I was born in Colombia, in Bogota, in the south of Bogota, in 1975, in a very impoverished community in the south, under very precarious circumstances where violence was el pan de cada día, everyday bread was, and have always been in line with the idea of how can I help others. If you want to know more about this story, you can read it more in my book chapter. Next. So feel free to get this book, which explains details about my journey, but also learn from others as well, including other people such as Kathy Bigmore as well. So as you can see in this presentation, it's not necessarily about the book that I am launching today, but the many different connections from the past, the present, and the future. Next. Before starting the core of my presentation, I would like to share with you the source of my work, personal and professional, where I'm coming from, what guides me every day. I have utilized concepts from my home country, concepts that have been displaced because of the intrusion of colonization and other Eurocentric concepts. I am a man who is in constant change, learning and relearning my role in the world. From this stance or positionality, I not only see myself, but see my home country, but also how my work can heal the world. Next. Before moving into, it's important to thank all of those who have helped me out, especially, of course, Enrique Pijazlo has been very important in this work because of plurilingualism. Antoinette Gagne, who was my supervisor, Jeff Bale, Kathy Bigmore, and especially all of those who have been throughout this journey, friends like Amir Khan and Christina J. Mughal as well. All of you who are here are part of this pluriverse as well. Teachers who I work in Colombia, Arturo Escobar, and all the co-founders of the Artem Research Collective as well, who some of them are here today, have been helping me to pave the work of this pluriversality. Thank you. Next. Really quick, I just wanted to share how the book was structured and changes through many iterations based on feedback. Thanks to the anonymous reviewers. Also, you can read certain parts of the book as it is not meant to be a straight line. So you can pick and choose different parts of the book and read accordingly. So you don't have to start from the page 1 and finish on page 20 to 222. Next. So here we have, I just want to give you a minute or so to have a look at the structure of the book here, the regular things that are here. The first chapter is about me describing what pluriversal applied linguistics is and several of the concepts that I will be engaging with you today. But one thing that is important for me to share is the interludes, and the interludes are sort of little pauses between different chapters so the reader can pause for a second, look at the image, perhaps meditate and go on. Next. So here's the chapter number 2 that talks about the methodology that I have used, the methodology that I am proposing using pluriversality as a framework. Chapter 3, it's about the threats to the pluriverse, or the challenges, the difficulties, and the struggles that the pluriverse is facing right now. Chapter 4 is about how we can advance pluriversal practice through pedagogies of solidarity and pedagogies de vida también. Next. And chapter number 5 is a little bit about moving forward, and that's when I describe plurilingualism, translanguaging, and pedagogía de vida as a way to move forward in society. And then the last sections of the book is about how can we all work together towards returning to human, non-human languaging experiences. And there is no end, it's just a continuation of things. Thank you so much. And I will also share with you some of the key concepts that I have engaged for a while, and they are based in the book. Sorry. Not before. One. Okay, so this is the only time that I'm gonna read from the book. X. As a researcher and educator, I conceptualize this X as a symbol that acknowledges those who have been at the margins of society while recognizing global diversity, our ecosystems, and relationality among beings. It also represents solidarity with the most marginalized communities, including the indigenous peoples, Black and people of color, as well as with the immigrants and refugees, neurodivergent communities, and the two-spirited LGBTQAI plus community as a way to de-hierarchize the local human-centric narratives perpetuated by hegemonic forms of colonization. Next. I will also share with you some of the concepts that I have engaged for a while and are the basis of this book. Next, please. Yes, it's important to understand that I don't own the concept of the pluriverse, and I think this is key for some people who are working in decolonial mindsets or the colonial work, trying to put together things out there and make publications and gaining ownership. And I talked to Arturo Escobar, and we both agree that we don't own the concept of the pluriverse or el pluriverso. We are just messengers that we are using them and sort of trying to engage you with this idea. So it is more than a concept, it is a cosmovision or a mindset for some. And this is how we have envisioned it since the beginning of my journey. So it's a worldview, a cosmovision, recognizing a world made of many distinct, equally valid worlds that coexist rather than a single one, than a single universal reality. As the Zapatista says, un mundo donde todos quepamos, a world where we all fit. And I will show you in a minute this fabric. Next. So this fabric, I started my journey in my dissertation, like it would look like this. And as I would go through my dissertation work, I would do stitches all around. And I keep doing this and I keep doing this throughout my dissertation work, my journey, and even writing my book. And I continue, and then I bought a sewing machine and I continue working on this idea. And the pluriverse is how I describe the pluriverse right now. And then any of you can pick up some little corners of this fabric and continue and expand it, because as Arturo Escobar said, the pluriverse is not unique, it's many things, many possibilities. And I am trying to work on a framework, and I found this framework that instead of being a static framework, is something that is three-dimensional pluriverse. Here it should be moving. There it is. So it's something like this. It should be something that moves, flexible, and that's what this framework is about. It's not something static. And then Enrique has talked about these synergies and synergy words of looking at the languaging, right? Next. Okay, so another concept that I have engaged in my scholarship is el buen vivir, many communities in the Andes have different names for what it means to live well with each other, but also for some, el buen vivir is performed as a critical reaction to dominant Western theories of knowledge and also presents possibilities beyond the modern world in which all humans live well and cohabit in relation with nature and Mother Earth. In its more general sense, el buen vivir denotes, organizes, and constructs a system of knowledge and living based on the communion of humans and nature and on the spatial temporal harmonious totality of existence. That is, on the necessary interrelation of being, knowledges, logics, and rationalities of thought, action, existence, and living. So this notion is part and parcel of the cosmovision, cosmology, and philosophy of the indigenous people of the Yala continent, according to the indigenous peoples in Latin America and the Andes. Next. So, if you want to know more about el buen vivir and language teaching, I invite you to look at the chapter here, define the abyssal line towards el buen vivir and English language teaching in Colombia. Next. Another important concept that I think is key and part of the conversation is vivir sabroso, which is a term that became popular mainly because Francia Marquez, an Afro-descendant woman and environmental activist born in Colombia Pacific, used it as a slogan for her campaign. Vivir sabroso mainly refers to living well, happy, and in harmony with communities, family, relatives, elders, and others, so we can all live in peace with nature without the fear of being persecuted by violence, racism, nor being killed or harassed by paramilitaries or even the police or the army in Colombia. Next. Beyond el buen vivir and vivir sabroso, Carlos Duque has expanded this idea to pluralize this term as buenos vivires as a way to acknowledge that there is not only one way of vivir bien, but many, especially in light of the current socio-political situation of our planet. So I'm gonna read in Spanish and you can read in English as I go, read in Spanish. Con ello muestro que el buen vivir, vivir bien o buenos vivires representa una alternativa de ampliación ontológico-política basada en la relacionalidad, cosmocentrismo que confronta las coordenadas de la ontología dual antropocentrada y eurocentrada que fundamenta el vivir mejor de la modernidad capitalista. Next. This other concept that guides my work is sentipensar, that invites us to work together as a symbiotic relationship, thoughts and feelings in a constant search for harmony and balance of human beings in the struggle for social justice and liberation. So sentipensante is a combination of two Spanish words, sentir, which means to sense or feel, and pensar, which means to think. Unlike schooling that teaches to divorce soul from body and mind and heart, Galeano a long time ago invited us to have a relationship with our hearts and our minds in order to speak the language of the truth. He conceives this energetic feeling thinking construct as a stance for rationality and intuition that exists in counterintuitive synergic opposition that our ancestors have always shared as conscious and evolved beings, which are in opposition to Western philosophies of rationality and logic. Next. So these concepts, as you can see, these are very beautiful, as you might know. I'm still in contact with the teachers I work with during my field work. And I keep working with them, and within a couple of years after the pandemic. So I asked them about what they expect the future to be after the pandemic. And we continue working and talking about these issues, and they told me that building a better world for everyone is key. And they describe this as un mundo bonito, which I have not translated into the English because un mundo bonito is more than a beautiful world. And here I capture one comment from one of the teachers. So I will read it in Spanish and you can follow in English. Un mundo bonito es un mundo lleno de oportunidades para todos, un mundo amable, dulce, equilibrado, un lugar donde quepamos todos así, lleno de singularidades, un lugar limpio, lleno de abundancia y color, un espacio sin egoísmo, sin maledicencia, sin malicia, un mundo para vivir en plenitud. Next. So these concepts really, that are really beautiful, I put them together into this sort of framework. through my research work, is something that I call Pluriversal Applied Linguistics, that ultimately is about pursuing that mundo bonito that the teachers have told me. So you can see the concept de buenos vivires and to pensar the futurities, which mean the future realities of how we envision the future towards that mundo bonito under the framework of epistemologies of the South or Southern ways of being, thinking, and doing. And anybody can use this type of framework for research or for pedagogical approaches as well. Next. Throughout the book, you will also find the interludes that I was mentioning, for the reader to pause and reflect on the readings. And here's a piece of art that I made as part of a workshop I attended about finding the ethno in the graphic through various methods such as playing with data. So I am going to leave it here for a few seconds, but the original art is around here so that you can see it and later perhaps have a look at it and see the original art that I use. Engaging the concepts throughout my research, put them together here on the collage. Next. So we're halfway through this presentation and book launch, and I try to make the connections within the present and the future. This book is not about one thing or the other, but about the pluriversal laws of understanding that we, all of us who are sitting here together, are in connection with others, more than humans, beyond humans, and more than humans, sorry. So let me show you one tiny example of how this might look in real life. No, sorry, no, never mind about that. Next. No, it's like that. I need to skip. Okay, yes, that one. So all of this tonight and everything, but we have to keep an eye on the evil that is out there. The necro-colonial forces that will not allow us to go into the direction of un mundo bonito, right? So we all want to go onto that direction of how we all create a better world for everybody. And there are these forces that I have published elsewhere about it. See, it's called symbolic annihilation. And this is what is killing us as we speak. Neoliberalism is an economic and social ideology that treats education, including language learning, as a market commodity, prioritizing competitiveness, efficiency, and employability over equity and cultural diversity. We also have capitalism is an economic system built on private ownership and profit making, and it shapes language learning by turning languages into marketable skills, especially English, valued for its global trade, employment, and technological participation. And that's why most indigenous languages are being displaced by Spanish and English and Chinese Mandarin right now because of that capitalism. And finally, here, globalization is in the increasing interconnectedness of economies, cultures, and societies worldwide, and it affects language learning by making multilingualism both more necessary and more uneven. So on one hand, globalization elevates certain global languages as gateways to international trade, but on the other hand, it displaces the other languages to the margins. Next. All right, this is my favorite part because you might want to ask, what now? Oh, this is nice, but what we're gonna do now? So now that we know what pluralex is, and the possible threats, you wonder what now, what is beyond, what can be done, and what are the possibilities. So I have a few ideas and a couple of things to show you. Yes, this one. Something that is coming out of these books are these 10 ideas that I've been working on for a while. 10 pluriversal thought for applied linguistics for language education. So in other words, this book is a book that is more theoretical and researchy based, but then the next step from this is engaging these 10 pluriversal thoughts into practical things that teachers can do in the classroom, right? And here we have language education as senti pensante praxis, language classroom to as seeds for a mundo bonito, learning languages to live well, not just to compete, plurilingualism as everyday resistance, language education as pluriálogo de saberes, embracing necro-resistance through storytelling and testimonials, methodologies as weaves of the South, educators, all of you, all of us as companions, not as deliverers of knowledge, language pedagogy as futurity practice, and language education beyond the human. So how can we incorporate the non-humans as well? Next. Yeah, that one. And I wanted to show you this one of the teachers from another edited book that it was recently released as well, has been working on engaging her children in her class with using language beyond the classroom. So we are looking at one of the many possibilities and examples she has where she goes to local market with her children to practice the language in real life. So this is gonna be a video for roughly 1 minute. So I wonder if it works. Yep.
Fruit is a vegetable and fruit market located close to Jano Oriental School. Fruit sells a variety of organic products, including all kinds of green vegetables, fruits, and root vegetables, such as carrots, radishes, pears, and arracacha. Currently sells brought mostly from Los Chagas, Florida, and Colombian coast. The fruits and vegetables that you can buy there can be used to prepare delicious meals such as vegetable soups, strawberry cakes, and pineapple cakes, among others.
Great. That's just a tiny example of the many possibilities that can be done under this type of decolonial frameworks. At a research level is about taking research beyond the monolithic ideas of researcher and participants and blur the rigid lines of who owns the knowledge. Here I am in the streets of Colombia in front of the school. Here I am in front of this in the streets in front of the school I work, eating breakfast at 6 a.m. in the morning, having a chat with parents, students, passerby, and learning what happens behind the scenes in the school. As such, I show you this as an example of that the researcher does not necessarily have to be in academic spaces to understand what it means to research with populations. So imagine research where we all learn from each other as a collective where different creative art-based approaches are encouraged: music, painting, poetry, fanzines, blog, podcast, cooking, praying, eating in the street, etc. So imagine the possibilities of what it means to be a researcher, not only conducting an interview and doing a survey is research, but there are many other possibilities. So that's more or less what I'm trying to say here. Thanks. So ethnographies of the street, and particularly soundscaping, has been in my life for a long time, recording sounds, videos, and photos to learn more about cultures and languages as are engaged. For example, in my data collection in Toronto. Next. Next. That one. For example, in my data collection here in Toronto, this safety sign translated into multiple languages, including Hindi, Nepali, Arabic, Korean, Urdu, and Russian, vividly illustrates the linguistic diversity of Toronto's public transit system. It highlights the TTC commitment to inclusivity by providing vital safety information to a broad spectrum of riders, thereby offering valuable insights into the cultural demographics and communication strategies within the city's bus infography. Next. This sign by the exit window is not just about conveying instruction, it is a small but significant symbol of Canada's commitment to linguistic duality. But I argue that in this other sign, the linguistic landscape of the city is also an invitation to keep in mind that there are other languages, those who are not human as well. We need to be, they need to be acknowledged as well. Next. So here's another example that takes us beyond the academic world and into the community work. I have been serving as a community researcher for News Arts Lab here in Toronto, and this summer we engaged with the community to record the cultural and linguistic landscapes of the neighborhood. So if you keep, there are some photos that I want to share with you. So here's the community. We go out in the neighborhood, recording some sounds, asking questions to neighbors, taking photos of the linguistic landscape, asking questions about belonging. We had some time to eat tamales and looking at the different landscape, the spiritualities, the resistance as well, and the different supermercados, and then the diversity in languages as well. So these are some of the things that I have been doing for a while. And we're almost at the end of the presentation. And to pose again and ask, what we want and need for a better world, cosmos, or survival? Next. So a few years ago, I had the fortune of going to Bolivia and met Silvia Rivera Cusicanca, her colectivo Cheje. And here she told me to stop thinking about academically for a moment. And she gave me a pickaxe and said, go to the garden and help me carve a path for our seeds. So I did so for a while, and she asked me if I had had a conversation with the land, and I said, no. And she said, but why not? But you are not the only one in here. You should have a conversation, go back again. And I did so, and I started having the conversation with the land and the plants and the seeds and everything that was around. And to this, she said something along the lines, there is no such thing as a dialogue because we're in constant conversation with ourselves, others, the cosmos, and our non-human brothers and sisters. So she calls this a pluriálogo de saberes, or a plurilog, I don't know how to say it in English, plurilog of knowledges, I guess, something along those lines. Next. So at a pluriversal level, all of this is beyond the binaries or polarities. And in the work that I did here in Toronto and here at OIC, we learned a lot about second language education. And some folks are already still talking about second language, first language, second language, first language, second language. But in the work that I've done, and I have shown you today, is not about those monoliths or polarities, but a mix of pluralities where we, as researchers and educators, are in constant engagement. Is our role to have the plural conversation that Silvia Rivera asked me to have and amplify those knowledges in our own practices. So moving from a dialogue of two sides, parties of systems to a pluriálogo de saberes is key for the work that I do. Next. So based on these ways of seeing things, I see things beyond where there are many possibilities beyond criticality, beyond decolonization, and all of these ideas are sort of intertwined, similar to this little thing that I'm showing you today. Next. Okay, so this is what I'm working right now, and it's for coming next year. A world otherwise for a new humanity, and then I sort of trying to move away from decolonization or decolonial mentality or decolonial idea in this way, so if you want to go. So from decolonial critique, moving to healing the colonial wound, as Silvia Rivera Cusicanqui has said, from human to human relationships to more human land and cosmos relationships. And in the world of language revitalization, we are currently talking about preservation of languages, languages as resistant, languages as proclamation. But according to many indigenous languages, peoples and experts in language, we are talking about the vitalization or vitalización del lenguaje. Because for many people, they argue that language is not dead, language is alive, we just need to give it a little boost to vitalize it and honor it. And we're moving from translanguaging to plurilanguaging. Some folks are already writing on the idea of plurilanguaging that you can find some of the literature out there. And from an ontological perspective, moving from multiple knowledge systems to plural worlds, plural universities, pluriverses, plural possibilities as well. From the point of view of the researcher role, right now, from a decolonial perspective, the researcher is about advocacy, social justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, and we are moving little by little from ecological, cosmological, reciprocity, healing experiences, and convivencia, which is a word that they use in Latin America. So as a conclusion, we have arrived at a final destination, and I will attempt to conclude. So at the end of the day, Pluriversal Applied Linguistics is not about theories, but a living practice that invites us to rethink, but also to answer the many questions that we have. How can we work together towards answering them as individuals thinking in the collective? And here are a few questions that I want you to keep in mind. Pick one question and try to see how you can answer this question from your own perspective and from your own practice as a researcher or educator. What is the language of the land, the cosmos, the water? What is the language of neurodivergent folks? What is the language of disability? What is the language of the blind and the deaf? What is the language of the heart? What is the language of God? What is the language of humanity? What is the language we engage with non-human beings? What is the language we use with beyond humans? What is the language of anything that you can come up with? Anything, right? So we need to start asking those questions. What is the language of something? And then from that moment, you can start investigating and doing research about it. So basically taking a little bit of this edge of this and then expanding on the pluriverse. So we are at the end, and I'm going to leave you with this nice print from the collective Psilotropico in Latin America that artistically captures the sentiments of my book and my conversation today. Queremos un mundo donde quepan muchos mundos, otros mundos ya existen. We want another world where other worlds are possible, but there are other worlds that already exist out there. So we don't necessarily need to create other worlds. It's for us to go ahead and embrace them, abrazarlos, inhabiting them and supporting them because they are already there. Yes, that we have a discount for the book. So if you go there, if you click and you find somewhere like until December 10, you have a discount for the book, 40% you want to buy it. Not that you have to buy it, but if you want to buy it, there is some discount there. Next. And this is, I'm launching today my podcast. Nobody knows about this. Nobody. You know? She's the only one who knows. But now you know I have a podcast that accompanies this book. So you can hear my voice and also go through these and imagine that it's like a Bible, you're trying to go through different places. You know, that's what I'm inspired by the reading the Bible, right? Like I go read the Bible, so it's like reading the Bible and listen to one of the episodes and you see it's talking about X here, talking about sentipensantes, talking about, you know, all of these things. So just go there, follow it. I will be updating this every week. We already have 7 episodes by now. Next. These are some of the key references. If you need more, feel free to ask me, send me an email, or you can buy the book and all the references are here. Also, connections. If you need any help as a consultant, hire me. If you are in a position of power, you can also hire me. You follow me on social media, Instagram. Instagram is my lab, actually. If you go there, you can see there's a lot of research going there. My email, Linktree as well. And I think that's pretty much it. Now we're in a moment of reflections and questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Yecid. So we will welcome your question, your thoughts, your comments. Please raise your hand and I will hand over the mic to you.
Yes, because I have the other mic here. So if you have a question, a comment, a claim, a complaint, you can also ask.
Well, that was quite simply mind-blowing, this is. Thank you very much. I was going to ask you what necrocolonialism is, but you explained it so nicely with that slide of neoliberalism, capitalism, and globalization. But what really hit me listening to all of this is that I've been struggling for a while to myself conceptualize the difference between intercultural competence and pluricultural, the idea of pluriculturality. And everything that you're saying has really is really based upon that difference, isn't it? It's moving away from this idea of binaries.
Yes, that's correct.
I mean, intercultural, I've always liked the concept of intercultural communicative competence. In Germany, there are hundreds of instruments for testing
Yeah.
into ICC, and it's usually in order to overcome difficulties with other people so you can sell them something, right? Whereas what we're talking, okay, Byron does take a different approach, but there's still, I've always found something, I don't know, I just never liked it. And this opens, as you say, it opens to other worlds and other ways of seeing everything in a pluralistic way. And it's a really brilliant concept. I really like it. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much. I think you pointed that out, yes. And I also found interculturality very sort of close. And that's why pluriversality will make sense. Kathy Walsh have talked about critical interculturality, which is great because it's precisely asking that question of what's beyond and what we can do beyond just interculturality, because interculturality is, I have a culture, you have a culture, I know about your culture, you know about my culture. But it's, as you know, it's beyond that, it's more than that. There's many things because you're not monolithic. Yes, you could be Spanish, you can be German, you can be Chinese, you can be, but there are other layers of who you are that we engage in, and that's what I learned from Silvia Rivera Cosicanqui. She says it's a plurialogo. You're not having a dialogue with you're having a dialogue with many facets of people's lives, and even out there in the planet and the universe and the dogs and the cats and the land and the planet, you name it. So I keep going on all of this, and therefore assessment or testing is trying to narrow it down into a path into how much did you know and standardize and level something that has never been like this. That's why I'm a little bit vocal of testing and assessment for that matter, because I think there are other ways I have done. I can show you, I didn't show you today, but this summer I got the chance to work in the University of Toronto, Scarborough, and we explored different ways of testing or assessment, and the students, we went into I think the forest, I would say, in Scarborough is a nice forest that people walk and come back, and then we asked the students what they thought about this, and we found amazing essays that they did, and they did beautiful art as well. They did fanzines as well, and this is a better way of evaluating the students' knowledge rather than a test. And the students were excited, and I can continue about testing and assessment in language education, but I guess that's another book. So yeah, if we have more questions, that would be great. More conversations, connections, comments.
Hi, Yecid. Lovely presentation. You shared with us, maybe we might need to go back on one of the slides, but you shared with us the list of kind of concrete
You mean the 10
practices. Yeah, 10. And then there was one of them that I was just hoping you could speak more about. I was intrigued and I wanted to know more. It was in the middle, but I won't be able to remember it.
Yeah, no, we're getting there. Oops. I think it was, keep going. Almost there. That one.
Yeah.
Logically, that one. Yes, that one.
Right.
Not the other one. This one.
There we go.
Competitive presentation mode.
Okay, yeah. It's the fifth one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Language education as plurialogo is already? No.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, what about it? Do we have a specific one?
Yeah, just I wanted to ask if you could talk.
Yeah, absolutely, like language education, plurialogo es saber. So Silvia Rivera Cusicanqui told me, you are not a monolithic being. You have emotions and you have feelings and you have your memories, you have spiritualities. And sometimes in the academic world or at school, we don't acknowledge those things. I don't know if you are religious. I don't know what your memories are. I don't know what about your feelings or your emotions. Do you have mom? Do you have relationships with your family? Do you have relationships with your friends? With partner? I don't know anything about. Because when you come to my classroom, the only thing that I care is that you know English. And I want to teach you English because I want you to get a job, right? And I want you to pass that exam for immigration. That's the only thing I care. So in Pluriálogo de Saberes, it's about teaching so I know more about you and I acknowledge who you are and I bring it into the classroom and I amplify that knowledge and share it with the others in my classroom as well. So that's what it means. And then in this work that it will come at some point in the near future is I'm going to give you and teachers the tools to do this carefully, but also trying to acknowledge those backgrounds, so to speak. And the pluriálogo is to have that, being able to have that conversation and that dialogue with the other, right? To acknowledge and welcome it into the classroom, because sometimes we don't even know who our students are. I that little guy who sits at the back, look shy, but do I know him? Do I know he has a parent? And this happens a lot with communities in the global south, in marginalized communities where you have a classroom of 40, 50 children or students, and then you don't know because there's so much thing to do that you just have to do a test and really quick not do that. That's why I showed the video. There's other possibilities. Let's go into the street and into the market and hang out and learn about other things. So there are other ways to do. Did I answer the question?
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
Question, comment, maybe I can comment on this.
Yecid years ago, he had a wonderful idea and he organized a multilingual poetry festival twice, no? You did that.
Yes, that's right.
And it was amazing to see how much in just 2 hours, 3 hours we were together, we discovered of each other, because people, the moment they could share a poem, which is something that goes deep into your emotions and